Okay, well, welcome to AAC for Transition-Aged Youth and Adults. This is the maiden voyage of this webinar, so we're excited to have you here. I wanted to talk a little bit about this workshop webinar series. Today's presentation, along with the other webinars in this series, are made possible by Ability Central through a grant that I wrote called Let's Talk AAC. And what it is a series of webinars for professionals serving persons with communication needs, as well as parents and caregivers. So here we have a list of the other workshops in this series. So we've already done Let's Talk AAC, Parents and Professionals Together, and then we'll do this one today. And then in July, we have AAC Ask the Experts. If you missed the first two, they are available on our YouTube page. We'll give you the link in just a moment. I'm Laura Martinez. I am the Assistive Technology Program Manager at TASK.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Ortega, Assistive Technology Specialist at TASK.
Good morning. My name is Bernadette Kennard. I'm a speech language pathologist with Trinity Consulting.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Bone.
Thank you, Kim. And I think Carrie is running a little late, so I'll introduce Carrie. She is an adult AAC user that's been a PRC ambassador for 30 years, and you'll learn a little bit more about her later on.
I want to let you know who TASK is. We are a parent training information center. We're a nonprofit. We cover 6 counties in Southern California. We educate and empower people with disabilities and their families to become effective communicators and self-advocates. Our disclaimer, TASK staff are not advocates or attorneys. We do not provide recommendations, legal advice, or suggestions. Our family support specialists offer peer-to-peer support, information, and options to parents of children with disabilities so they can become informed members of the IEP team and work collaboratively with schools. Our family support specialists help families understand the special education process by providing one-on-one phone consultations, virtual IEP consultations, review of documentation, and assistance with letter writing. They offer a variety of educational webinars, support for military families, information, and resources. And within our tech center, we offer a variety of assistive technology webinars, individualized lab appointments online via Zoom. They're 1 hour long. If you're looking for specific apps, software, websites, we can schedule an appointment. And I can show you what we have. We have over 3,300 educational apps. If we have any in the areas that you're looking for, I can gladly show them to you, or you are also welcome to email me and I can send you resources. We offer assistive technology consultations and clinics. For our AAC, Augmentative Alternative Communication Services, we have Project Communicate, in which we offer a free 1-hour AAC consultation with Bernadette. If you'd like more information regarding the free 1-hour consultation, you can contact me and you'll have my email address in a little bit. I believe it's at the end. And Neil, we have this for webinar series, the Let's Talk AAC, the Professional Development Training Series. We also offer Tech Connection, which is our online social and life skills group for ages 14 and above. We meet once a month via Zoom for 1 hour. And we have a lot of information and resources on assistive technology. Tech Tidbits is our assistive technology focused e-newsletter. It goes out once a month. If you're not receiving it or would like to receive it, you can visit the website on the slide, plug in your name, email address, and you'll start receiving it the following month.
Great.
And before we continue, I do want to let you know I will email a copy of the entire presentation to the email address you used to register to attend today's webinar after the webinar.
Here I'm talking and I'm muted. Haha. Thank you so much, Liz. I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar a little bit unconventionally. I'm going to start it with a video because it's such a great informational video. And the video is based on a short story called My Escape from Prison. It's about autism awareness, but this is such a great communication video. I'm going to go ahead and start. And then our speakers, if you're not speaking, I'm going to have you mute. Thanks. Are we going? There we go.
The first time I told anyone anything about myself was when I was 9 years old. Until then, the way I felt
There's no sound, Laura. You're muted, Laura.
Okay, let's try this again. I am so sorry. All right. Yep. There we go. Let's try this.
the first time I told anyone anything about myself.
You have sound?
Yes.
Okay.
Was when I was 9 years old. Until then, the way I felt must be described as a prison of my thoughts without a door. I could think, but no one knew. Everyone thought I was dumb. Not being able to communicate seemed like torture. Sometimes I would even scream like I was being tortured. I felt like I was fighting with my mouth, and it wouldn't move. The way I behaved was very hard for those around me. I tried to imagine a world in which I could communicate. It would be a world filled with conversation and understanding. And I would be included in the beautiful world where friendships grow like flowers in a garden when the spring rains fall.
You got it. It's okay. Okay.
Inclusion means that people look at me as normal. Just a person that can't always control his body. I want people to accept me as I am and focus on my strengths, not just my challenges. When people meet me, I want them to smile and say hi just like they would with anyone else. Just because I don't look at you doesn't mean I'm not listening or don't understand. I always understand.
Okay. G, having. L, you're doing great. Keep going. T, but. Go ahead, play it.
Means having a place in society not to solely exist, but to thrive and contribute together for the greater good.
J-S-T, just. H, come on, A, P, P, Y, happy. C, A, R, E, care, A, B, O, come on, U, T, just having good people that I care about.
In 5 years, I want to live with my friends in a home of my own and a job that helps the world be a better place.
5 years is not that long, but I think I want what other 25-year-olds want, to not live with mom and dad.
Since learning to communicate, my life has become so amazingly rich. When my mom asked how long I had been able to talk, I answered, "A long time. I was just waiting for you to figure out a way how."
Okay, that's the real voice. There we go. Okay, so that's the real voice. So we're just going to do a quick review because this is the third installment in our AAC webinar series, but not sure if everyone has come to all of them. So since we're focusing on teens and adults this time, I just wanted to do a quick review of the basics. So what is AAC? AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication, and it includes all forms of communication other than oral speech that are used to express thoughts, needs, wants, and ideas. So we use AAC every day, talking with our hands, using facial expressions, writing, everything in between. So lots of different types of AAC, which we've touched on in our other trainings, but AAC can include so many different things. No tech, that means just what your body has already on it. So gestures, your body language, sign language, things like that, facial expressions. Low tech, we could be talking about letter boards like you saw the gentleman use to spell out in the video. There are communication books. There's, of course, the PEC system, all kinds of low-tech AAC interventions. And then with mid-tech, usually something with mid-tech, it usually has voice output, usually battery operated. What I like about mid-tech, a lot of times they're very easy to program. They do have what's called a static display, meaning there's typically a piece of paper that's printed on that you can put in, set up each button to speak what you want, and then you can change that out and start again. But it's more, you have to physically change it. Excuse me. With high tech, it's usually a speech generating device of some sort that permits storing messages on it. So a lot more complex electronics, but a lot more power behind them. There's a lot more to them. They always typically use a power supply to charge. And they have what's called a dynamic display, meaning they have, it's like a folder system. So if I press on a folder that says food, then different kinds of food might pop up. Or if it might give me the choice breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. If I press that, snack, then snack choices would pop up. So that dynamic display is ever changing there. And this could be a dedicated device. This could be an iPad. There's all kinds of different high-tech devices. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the systems being customized to the AAC user. I know we delved into this a lot more in our previous webinar, but it's so important because every person is so different. So when you're customizing an AAC system, no matter what it is, it's got to fit the user. So just talking about icons. So icons can have picture symbols or regular photographs with or without words, if someone's literate or, can or cannot read. There are also text-based systems for people who don't need the symbols or the pictures. And those usually have word prediction on them. So when you start typing, an H for hello or whatever, different H words will pop up. And then a lot of the high-tech systems have the capacity to store frequently used phrases. So sometimes they're called quick chats or different things like that. But what you can do is you can hit quick chat and maybe the folder would open up and you could say, hey, how you doing? Or I need to go to the bathroom or something that's, whatever their signature thing is or whatever they need to say. And quick chats are nice because you can use one button instead of having to type out what you're trying to say. And then all systems should have a keyboard. We'll talk about this a little bit more later, but literacy is super important, and having a keyboard is really important because no matter how many messages are stored on a system, there's going to be a word that's not on there. And that freedom to type is super important. So who uses AAC? So augmentative and alternative communication can be helpful for anyone able to use verbal speech in order to get their communication needs met. I put a list here of different diagnoses, but basically it can be used by anyone who wants to get their thoughts, comments, needs across, and there's no prerequisite skills needed for AAC use. So where should we use AAC? Well, we should use it everywhere. AAC is a person's voice or how they communicate or speak. So I have two examples here. One is, it looks like the Avaz app, and we're going to do a cooking activity here. So our foods that we might need, we have access to those. This is a lower tech. This is a communication board that's been laminated and hung on a hook in the shower. So all of our grooming words and things that we may need are right there. Okay, reasons we communicate. By the way, I put a ton of resources in here because I'm a big resource person. So when you get your handouts, all of the links to everything will be on here, and we have 3 pages of just resources. But Assistiveware, who makes Proliquo products and other products, has a great poster on communication functions. And so I borrowed some of this from that. But if you want the poster, the link is on there to download it. So reasons we communicate. Well, getting and giving information, of course. So people need to be able to make comments, direct other people. Don't do that. Put that there. Things like that. Express your feelings, describe things. Share stories, give opinions, discussions, explain things. I mean, that's all really, really important. And then, of course, social interaction, especially the older students get, the more that social part comes into play. So being able to greet or flirt or compliment, starting up a conversation, telling a joke, teasing, negotiating, sharing things about yourself, or even, starting or joining a conversation can be super important, especially for that social interaction. So a few more reasons we communicate. Strategies to be better understood. So clarifying questions, asking to clarify, saying something differently if somebody doesn't understand, putting it in a different way. Maybe if someone's trying to communicate and you're not understanding what they're saying, they can give you a clue, and we'll give you some tips on communication breakdowns in just a little bit. Again, describing and that alphabet is super important. And then, of course, expressing wants and needs, making choices, getting attention, making requests, refusing and protesting are important parts of life. And everyone needs to be able to do that. I'm going to show you a video that I thought was really powerful. And it does fall under those reasons we communicate, most definitely. So hopefully the video will load. Let's try again. We have sound?
Hi. Wait. More. I wait more.
Well, John, you've told me quite a story. Why don't you hit Speak Display so everybody can hear the whole story? Thank you.
It was time to eat. I wait and wait. No one there. No one comes. I'm afraid no one here will help me eat. I wait more. She come and say to me, you don't tell. She bad and mean. She go away. I wait more.
Well, I'm glad you could tell me about it. Is there something you need me to do to fix it? You can take care of it yourself. Excellent.
So the power of communication is huge. If John didn't have a way to communicate, he may have sat there for who knows how long and not gotten food. Here's another example of reasons we communicate. And this is over on the left here. This is Creed. I don't know if you're aware of him, but if you're interested, there's a whole YouTube page and Facebook page as well. And Creed had autism amongst other disabilities and diagnoses. And his stepmom really embraced using communication with Creed to help him stop with self-injury, self-harm, and harming others. So this is just a quick clip, and then I have another clip later for you about Creed, but he is protesting and arguing.
We have a bunch of choices.
Yeah, you do, but
We have a
veggie
bunch of
chips is
choices.
not one of them. Yeah, you can have Sprouts veggie chips. Okay? Yeah, that's right. You're gonna have sprouts veggie chip. Those are the ones you're having. Not getting the other ones. Not.
We have a bunch of choices.
Yeah, great. But guess what? Eating out or those other kind of veggie chips are not one of them.
Where can we go?
Nowhere.
Where can we go?
You know where you can go?
Where
You can
can we
go to
go?
your bed. Because
Where
it's
can we go?
11 o'clock at night. Okay?
I want to talk to my friend about it.
Then you need
I want to talk to my
call
friend
Jared.
about it. I want to talk to my friend about it.
That's enough hitting
I
it.
will tell you later.
You will tell me
I will
later?
tell you later. I will tell you later. I will tell you later.
Bye.
I will tell you later.
And that's all he has to say about that.
Okay.
And then just over here on the right, I have a graphic up from Cough Drop, which is an AAC vendor, a wonderful AAC vendor. Don't ignore my words. So when a communicator says a word and you aren't sure why, instead of brushing it off and saying, oops, you made a mistake, don't, because you may just not understand what they're trying to communicate. So, you know, saying, I'm not sure what you mean. Can you further explain? Or use the word that they said and said, oh, you said go, where would you like to go? Or looks like you have a lot to say. Encourage and honor every attempt at communication. That's how we get better.
That's exactly right. And sometimes it's a challenge with teenagers. Good morning. I'm glad that we have this workshop today talking specifically about our teenagers and our young adults, because as that last slide showed, and I think any of us that know a teenager know that their behaviors change and they are different. But equally important is that their purpose of communication changes. And this slide illustrates it. Research has shown us that as we grow older, the reasons why we communicate change. Their slides here indicate that from elementary school, we begin to even see a shift from infancy. Always social interactions and etiquette is really important for language. That's one of the reasons we like to communicate. Sharing information and wants and needs take up just under half. But as you go and become into secondary school, you see that sharing information becomes even more important. And there's a decrease on the wants and needs, and there's an increase with social interactions and advocacies. And that's real important. And we know teenagers, some teenagers and young adults, how we work with our community and our peers become more important. With that being said, we can go to the next slide. It's never too late or too early to start. Understanding that we have to prepare for that shift means that everyone, no matter where you are in the age range, requires and has a right to communication. I have a client I recently started working with. He got his first AAC system after he turned 80, because that's when he needed it the most. So earlier, Laura said there's no prerequisite, so we can't start too early and we can't start too late as well. Throughout the age span, we need to be able to connect with our community. Next slide, please. And AAC users' abilities to communicate. We look at them with competencies, across competencies. I'm missing our, there we go. I was gonna say, I know them, but it's always makes you feel comfortable to have them. 5 basic competencies. And the first one is operational competency, and that specifically relates to how we actually utilize our system. If it's mid tech or high tech, we've got to be able to power it. Even if it's low tech and it's a communication book, we have to know how to navigate and turn the pages of the system. So operational competency applies to every system we have. All of these competencies do. The next one, linguistic competency or social competency, relates to the skills that are involved with communication. So socially, why that ties into our functions, why we use our communication system. Do we use them to maintain relationships or to be involved in interactions with others? And can we do that appropriately? And we express our feelings appropriately with our communication device? And certainly being able to manage when there's a communication breakdown. That's also a strategic competency, which is the next, excuse me. Linguistic competencies refer to the degree of how. It's kind of looking at a combination of your expressive and your receptive language together, really comes out as we look at linguistic competency, as well as how we use our sentences. Can we use syntax? Can we develop sentences with using the length of our sentences is another measure of our linguistic competence. Using appropriate grammar, that's part of linguistic competence. Strategic competence is very important and can again be something that we measure at for a very early AAC user as well as a complex AAC user. So these are skills that allow the listener to be able to attend, to be able to use their systems to repair. If I don't have the word on my system that I want, that relates to what I'm talking about, can I find another way to communicate what I want to say? That's demonstrating strategic competence. If I communicate something and you don't understand, can I say it another way or can I help you to understand? That's repairing a communication breakdown. That's strategic competence. So that's very important. And emotional competence, this is the last competence that was added, I want to say probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. But it's really important because it has allowed us as practitioners to focus on the importance of the emotional development of how a person recognizes themselves as an AAC speaker and their ability to demonstrate through their system emotions and empathy, and the importance of self-regulation and especially self-advocacy. So when we look at AAC development, we want to continue to view them through the lens of AAC competencies. Making AAC person-centered. I love this. And I love this especially when we apply it to this age population that we're talking about today, because AAC for teens and adults look different for younger populations. We already talked about the purpose for communication is different. And so we want to make sure that our AAC systems are person-centered, meaning that they can have autonomous communication, being able to say what you want to say to whomever you want to say it, whenever you want to say it, and however you choose to say it. And in order to do this, we have to do customization. We have to make sure that the user's specific likes, dislikes, their vocabulary is honored in their communication system. When I am 7, I might be content to say hi or good morning, but when I'm 17, maybe I just want to say what's up, or how's it hanging, whatever the appropriate slang is. If my AAC system needs to reflect what my interest and my desires are. We do that using personal interest inventories. And that's important, and it's a little bit time consuming as well, but it's important. So we have links to give us some assistance with developing these person-centered systems. These are two very different forms here. One is from the Lingraphica company, and they call it a personal interest form. And if we look at it, you'll see that there's several different sections, and both these inventories are lengthy. Section Me, medical information. It's important to be able to state, for example, I'm allergic to X, Y, and Z, or if maybe you have seizures, be able to call my doctor. My health concerns are. Being able to express these things are very important part of self-advocacy. And it doesn't matter the comprehension again, we want to teach the ability to communicate about this information, particularly when it's medical information. Some people shy away from it, but it's important to have access for AAC speakers to have access to this information. It goes on and on. There's lots of things about medical information, but then your likes, the foods you like to eat, the things you don't like to eat, allergies, and it goes on even into interest. People that you have in your life that are important people, names of pets, all of these things help customize your vocabulary system. So it's a long list. My favorite restaurants are, we can't go through all of it, but we wanted you to be aware of the examples that are out there, because we know for the professionals that are in the chat room, it can be a daunting task, but putting this work in up front is very helpful. The VocaChat, also has a personalized list, and I like it because there's a setup kind of like a checklist, and it allows you maybe to kind of go through real quickly and identify what areas are most important to put into your AAC system. Can I tell you some things that I like, or can I tell you some things that I don't like? This form comes at it, addresses it from a pragmatic function. My toolkit, my health, excuse me, things that are important to me. Talking to myself, my places, my body parts, my body, but things are not body parts, excuse me. My toolkit, body, more, and private. Amen. Things that are personal still need to be communicated and respected. Okay. And we will, as she mentioned, you will have links to each of these forms. I believe these links are attached. Is that correct, Laura? Or no, we're showing these. So you have
yeah, not these two forms.
Not these forms.
But if they wanted them, they can email me and
I'll
send them to them.
It's a lot of information. Okay. All right, so relationship building, that's a key part of becoming centered. When you slow down and really listen, you're likely to learn things you didn't know about your AAC learner and deepen your relationship with them. On this slide, we've just listed some sample ways that you can implement to make sure that you're building a good relationship with your AAC speaker. Speaking to them in a way that demonstrates your confidence, that you believe in their abilities, is very important. I was reading research recently that indicated that AAC speakers had more confidence when the person working with them felt that that person believed in them. Reminding yourself and your students that perfection is not the goal. Super important. Accepting opportunities to advocate for your client or student or your child. They watch this and this earns their respect. And giving any kind of control when possible, even if it's just making choices. Giving your AAC speaker the opportunity to take the lead. And then help them connect with peers. As we said earlier, social interactions become more important as we get older. So helping your speaker connect with those in their peer group is very valuable in relationship building. Let me go to our next slide, please. All right. I love this icon here. It says, I'm sick of playing games. Teach me about my device. And this emoji is the word I think I'm looking for. Yes, it is actually represents Lydia Darling. We have her website listed here. Click, speak, connect. And she is an AAC speaker, and she's actually even developed a tool that she markets now, which assists with access in communication systems. But the concept here really applies to our learners in this age group, because when you get to a certain level of maturity, they really want to master their communication abilities. And so our focus of implementation kind of changes a little bit. A lot of times it's always fun to play games, don't get me wrong. But as a person matures, learning how to use their system and how to become masters of their vocabulary becomes critical.
I am going to interrupt just for a second. We're getting lots of comments on chat. A couple people came in late. You will be getting copies of the handouts sent to you to the email that you registered with. I do not have links to the 2 forums that were just shown, which is why I didn't include them in the presentation, but I can email them out. We can just attach them to the handouts and we can go ahead and email them out. Unfortunately, they're on my Google Drive and I could not find the links to them. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And actually, if you go to the Lingraphica website, there's no charge for them. You can go to the Lingraphica website directly if you choose and download the form from there.
And we do have links to the Lingraphica website in our resources. So
yeah, so that's what you need right there. You can go there and you'll be able to get them directly. How to teach AAC. The AAC basics. Get familiar with AAC and what it is. If you can't know it, if you don't know it well, it's going to be hard to support. It's definitely hard to teach it. Okay. Access. Make sure the system is out at all times. We certainly can't communicate if we don't have access to our words. That's classroom, that's home, that's everywhere. Modeling. Research shows us and tells us that modeling is the #1 most effective strategy for teaching communication systems. So consistently modeling using the system. I know some older AAC speakers don't want anyone to touch their systems. I tell people, screenshot it, make a copy. You can have a hard copy of someone's high-tech system and still model. Core vocabulary focus. Focusing on core vocabulary and keywords allows you to comment and be engaged with whatever the setting is, even if you don't have that fringe vocabulary. Core vocabulary keeps you engaged into the activity. Communication opportunities. Plan opportunities for communication throughout the day. And the key word there is plan. So it does take some foresight in order to structure communication opportunities, but it can be done and should be done throughout the day. AAC Communication Preferences. The keyword here is personalized. As we talked earlier, we said person-centered, personalized description of strategies to make communication easier with partners. Some of the ways that we do this, and these are some suggestions, again, you have to, when you build a relationship with your AAC speaker, you'll know what is best for them. But here are some general things that we've found to be helpful with a lot of AAC speakers. And they're telling us as partners to do this. When you're ready to talk to me, please come over close to me. Please make sure it's quiet. We know that there's always distractions, right, in every environment. So being close in proximity and having a quiet environment is going to help you to understand what the AAC speaker is communicating. When you are talking to me, don't say too much, and please don't speak for me. Okay, those are key points. Allowing the AAC speaker to literally speak, where you are the listener and not the interpreter. Amen. Oh, did I say amen? Advocacy is important. When you don't understand something I'm saying, please let me know that you're not understanding. So allowing the AA speaker to clarify, work on those strategic competency skills we mentioned earlier. And if I prefer you wait until I'm finished with my message, I'll let you know. Some AA speakers don't want you to guess. If we know we're talking about, we go to McDonald's and I start spelling F-R-E, you might say French fries, you want French fries right away. But that might make your AAC speaker feel uncomfortable. So find out what their preference is and then go with that. When working specifically with a teen adult, we also want to be mindful of the fact that identifying communication settings is important. Specialized settings such as church, social groups, or clubs, our speakers need to have access to that vocabulary that works for those particular scenarios. For example, if your teen really enjoys playing board games or watching TV, then they need vocabulary, things that we say when we're having those types of activities. Those need to be prevalent in their AAC systems. For adults, options for symbol-based systems and text-based systems need to be determined with their input. I've worked with adults that have been literate all their lives. As a matter of fact, I was doing a consultation for TASK a couple of years back, and a gentleman came in who had been writing his messages, always writing his messages. And when we went through all of the options that were available, his choice was a system with pictures, because he said that was just going to be easier for him. So it's real important to get the user's input and not make assumptions about their abilities. We presume competence, and that's the only thing you want to presume. Just presume competence and then receive their input for everything else. Be mindful of changing medical status. We have some examples listed: Alzheimer's, ALS. There's progressive aphasia, or there's lots of different diagnoses that will cause a person to deteriorate over time. We want to be mindful of that when making our AAC selections. Okay, I'm going to stop. There's so much that we could say about that, but I want to be mindful of our time. I'm trying to go quickly. We have a lot of great information here for you today. So these slides are just some great examples for things to keep in mind of what we just talked about. Here's a board to be used. These are low-tech boards, but this vocabulary could be in a high-tech device as well. Let's watch a movie. So when we're watching a movie, what do I say? Turn it up, turn it down. I might cheer for the person, or I might need to request some snacks to go along with the movie. I totally would need to do that. This is a slide for, or this slide represents playing the game for the sorry game. Selecting your game pieces. Who doesn't want to gloat and say I'm winning, right? Or it's your turn, or we get confused and want to ask whose turn is it. So these are theme specific boards, but they're vocabulary that apply to the setting and need to be taken into consideration to match your users' needs and desires. Sometimes for adolescents, they're not really interested in just doing a communication lesson, but if we go ahead and we're just going to play a game today, but they have to use their device to participate in the game, then we've got some buy-in. Same thing with working out in the community. If you have an older AAC user, this is a wonderful board, and it's from Speaking of Speech. You'll find this in the resource list. Vocabulary I want to buy. They can use your gestures to point into it. How much is it? Is it too big? I want a different size. I don't like this color. I want this in a different color. This is all vocabulary that everybody would use. So just because I'm an AAC speaker doesn't mean I won't need to communicate this same vocabulary. And if shopping is important to me, then it should be a part of my AAC system. Okay. Laura, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was unmuting myself before I started blabbing away. So, so 4 components of a balanced AAC system. I got this, I shortened it, but if you want to read the whole article, it's on AssistiveWare. I have the link again. Again, I'm big on resources. So number 1, you have to, Bernadette talked about this a minute ago, but communication functions. So a balanced AAC system is going to allow communicators to give messages for a wide variety of reasons. So, you know, giving their opinion, asking for things, telling stories, jokes, asking questions, sharing what they know, protesting, you know, any of those things. Core words. We did a lot on core words in the first 2 webinars, but just in case you missed them. So with core words, I'll just say this here, the English language has at least 250,000 words. However, there's a small list of about 200 words that account for about 80% of the words that we say every day. And those are what the core words are. Fringe and personal vocabulary. We saw some examples of topic-specific boards. But sometimes there are words that you use, maybe like slang type words or things that you use within your own community or your home. It's important to have those things on there. So fringe words are typically nouns, but there could be different specific verbs depending on what it is, and then also adjectives. And then again, that access to the alphabet is really important. So you can, if the word's not there, you can spell it, or at least start with the first letter. And AAC is a learned language, and getting this across to people sometimes is tough. But I'm going to talk about that a little more in just a minute. But basically, when you start somebody off with AAC and it's set in front of them, it's going to take time to learn what the buttons mean, where they're located. There's a lot of things, even just in motor planning. Like if you look at a QWERTY regular keyboard, if somebody took your keys and just mixed them up and asked you to type a sentence, it might take you longer because you have to learn where those keys are. You got to speak AAC to teach AAC. So it's really important that people see their AAC system being used in real situations for real reasons by the people around them. Now, in some cases, you could have two different systems, identical systems, one for the user and one for yourself to model on, but it's really important. Model is just so important when learning AAC. And I just want you to think about how long it would take somebody to use their AAC system if we only model for a few minutes every day or for a week. It would take years and years to learn. So it's got to be every day. Of course, you want to familiarize yourself with the device so you know where things are before you can help model or teach. And then modeling without expectation. So you don't always have to, it doesn't always have to be like, press this button, do this. You can model your sentence or whatever you're doing, point to the icons, and just keep going if there's no interaction. There will be eventually. Make sure to let the AAC user explore the device often. Give them a chance, whether it's low tech, mid tech, high tech, all of the above, so that they can go through it and make themselves comfortable and figure things out. And then inspire communication. Rachel Madel, who's an SLP, a wonderful SLP, has a great video on it. But you want to inspire communication, but it doesn't have to be like, you have to do this. And then you want to always honor every communication attempt.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
You mentioned model without expectation, and I want to just mention the strategy of expansion, because I use this a lot and I see that to be so effective. When we have AAC speakers, regardless of their age, if they give me one word or two word, I'm repeating what they say, but my model is just adding on. So I'm just saying what they said, or I'm making my comment. If they say, play toy, I might say, what play toy? So I've modeled it. I'm not expecting them to say anything. I'm really just commenting, but I'm modeling by expanding on their utterance. And if I do that all the time, I'm noticing they're listening to me because we're talking to one another, but there's never any expectation, but they're paying attention to what you're saying as well.
Right. Good point, Bernadette. Thank you. So this is just a little exercise. This is actually a board that Cough Drop put out during the war situation, for the war situation in the Ukraine. But what I want you to do, since it's not in English, hopefully nobody on here can read Ukrainian, but if you were given something like this and you didn't you know, you can't read, or you're not literate, or you have trouble reading, and you're just trying to go for look at the symbols and figure out what they mean, it would probably take a lot of time or trial and error to figure that out. So depending on what it is, you may look at a certain symbol, like this one's pretty simple. That's got to be drink or something like that. But what is this? Would you know immediately what that was? So we know, because we're speechy people, what this is yesterday and this is tomorrow, you know, but not everybody would know that or what this is. So I want you to think about sitting a device or a system or even a low-tech page in front of someone. They have to have that chance to learn what the symbols mean. And there are so many different symbol systems and so many different language systems that it's really a learning process. So this is the Unity language from Prenki-Romic. And I just wondered, by looking at these symbols, can you type a sentence in the chat? Not so easy. But these are the symbols that both Kim, who you met earlier, and we'll see part of her story later, and Carrie use. It's a whole system. It's a whole language, I mean. Any other comments on this, Bernadette?
I think you said it perfectly. I think it's so important, and this is a great system, because we might recognize some of these symbols, but it doesn't always mean that just because, oh, we know these are dice, and compared to the first one, we maybe didn't recognize everything, but just because you recognize it doesn't mean you know what the word that this graphic represents. So there's different levels of transparency with symbols. The
Big
meaning
time.
still has to be taught, and it's usually best taught in context, because I might want to use the word associated with this, but I might never touch any dice. But I might sure play a lot, but I might never play with dice.
Right. Thanks. Just stuff I want you to think about. Okay, so Bernadette mentioned a little earlier communication breakdowns. And communication breakdowns happen a lot, not just with AAC users, but with everybody every day. We're going to just give you, this is just a quick definition of what a communication breakdown is, but basically a breakdown happens when a person attempts to communicate something and the partner has not understood it. So I got this from the Avaz app blog, which is a great blog. They have such great information. It's on your resources as well. But as a communication partner, you need to help the AAC speaker to get their message across. We can't always have learners rely on partners. So learning to repair breakdowns oneself is really an important pragmatic skill, because people need to be able to communicate autonomously. So repairing a communication breakdown. These are 4 tips here, and then I have a little video. So the first thing is, and I've learned this over the last 24 years, is you have to be honest. I have many friends who are AAC speakers, or they sometimes use their device or their natural speech. And sometimes I just don't understand. And you have to be honest and say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. But you do want to confirm and get across that what you really want to know what they're saying and get it right. I've had many funny stories about me not getting things correct. But the second one is if the non-speaker has a clear yes or no response to begin as questions based on what is known. So some people have an eye blink or a head nod or a hand wave or different clear yes or no responses. So you can also get, for asking questions, it's not like 20 questions, but it can be kind of a guessing game sometimes if you're not sure. So if you know that they're talking about a person, you might start the questions in their folder or on their communication board. Is it a family member? Is it somebody at school? Is it a teacher? And start going from there to narrow it down, and they can use their yes or no response. Then you're going to want to ask if it's something that needs to be added to their communication system, or if you can help them find it in their system. It might be buried in folders somewhere on their system, or it might not be there, and maybe they need, you know, maybe it's their grandpa and they would like to talk about their grandpa, and maybe they need their grandpa where they can get to them within a couple of hits. And then there's the WH question approach. And then this video from Proloquo I thought was a great idea. Just a tip. Sorry, they're using Proloquo, but.
Did you know when there is a communication breakdown, did you know if someone gave you a category and the letter that it started with, you would guess it 90% of the time? What's an animal that starts with D? You're probably going to guess dog or dinosaur and be right 90% of the time. You can do this strategy with low-tech boards, like it's a food that starts with B, banana. It's a feeling that starts with H, happy, and you're gonna guess it 90% of the time. You can also do it with technology, where you go into groups. Maybe you're gonna pick a letter, like I think it starts with S, and then you can cue them. I wonder what category it is, and maybe they go to close. You can then show them that, oh, it must be socks. Socks. Categories are gonna find their vocabulary a lot of the time, but if they give you the phonemic clue of what it starts with, you can assist them. It's important that our kids have letter sound correspondence with the first sound of each word in order to use this strategy.
Not just kids, adults, and I apologize, that's touch chat they're using there.
You were, the first board was assistive wear.
First board was assistive wear, yeah.
It was a combination, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great video, and I like this because it's so important that we recognize that there's processes that we can use to help work through these communication breakdowns. And as you teach it, and even if you go through it once or twice, that just helps your speaker to be able to go through it the next time a little bit easier with someone else. And this can often hopefully circumvent some behaviors that we see. You know what? Okay, I understand you're getting upset, but let's figure it out. Are we talking about an animal? Are we talking about, you know, and reduce that anxiety that comes from having breakdowns, because we all get frustrated when we're misunderstood.
I agree. And helping, being persistent and keep on guessing and trying to keep that conversation going. I've seen too many people interact with, you know, non-speakers, and they don't understand and they actually walk away, which is the absolute wrong thing to do.
Absolutely. You can always scan your options, if nothing else.
That's correct. So resistance from the user. So talking about teens and adults, a lot of folks are stubborn. A lot of people transitioning from high school to the adult world. Maybe they didn't get a device, and they think, hey, I've gone these 20 years, I haven't needed a device. Why would I need one now? Well, the thing is, your family understands you and the people you're around all the time, but maybe not people out in the community or possible employer or things like that. So just a few tips I found. I liked this, how to break down and overcome resistance in AAC with teens or young adults. Educate them. Talk to them about their disability and how it impacts their life. Explain the importance of communication in everyday life. Talk to them about the consequences of not using AAC. Right? If we can't, you may not be understood. And then teaching literacy skills. It's never too late to learn or to teach or learn literacy. It's super important, especially to be able to spell on that keyboard.
Oh, wait, sorry.
And as Bernadette mentioned about behavior, boy, behavior is communication. We all communicate through behavior in different ways. The way our posture is, the way the looks on our face, the way we might slam something down when we're mad, or, that's how we get our point across. But imagine not being able to communicate and not being able to, be heard. So basically, when you're talking about communication or behavior, a lot of times the problematic or inappropriate or self-damaging behavior is a sign that someone's upset and something's not right. And a lot of times these behaviors can occur because people have poor, not only expressive, but also receptive communication. So these are all things that need to be practiced. Okay, so here's a video. This is Creed, our friend Creed again. And he has had very self-injurious behaviors. He not only hit and bit himself, but also his stepmom, mom, and anyone who was in his path when he was in a rage. So this is a video of him communicating through that anger. Maybe.
Let's talk about that then. When you engage in those behaviors. When you do that stuff. What happens? If you
Bite hand.
if you bite hands,
Yell.
you yell,
No go.
so you know go. Then don't sign me yes. You don't get to go. It's a no. Because you bite your hands and you yell and you hit your head. When you do those things, you don't get to go. No, you don't. You get to eat at home. And you get to apologize. That's a no. And you may express yourself and tell me your feelings.
I'm irritated.
You're irritated. I can tell that you're irritated. No, you're not going outside until you've had some food. You need to have sausage.
Why not?
Because your blood sugar's too low. You don't feel well, you're not yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you say that. You're not eating out right now. You can eat in the kitchen. If you're mad, no, come here. Creed. Think about what you're doing. Sit down. Think about it. Stop. Stop and think. I'm sure you do, but that's not going to happen right now. And you need to calm down and think about it. Nope, Creed. Calm down. Here's the thing. If you yell, nope, don't kiss me right now. You may apologize. You need to calm down. We're not going anywhere. No, we're not. That's fine. You can get a drink from the fridge. We're not going anywhere with you hitting and biting your hands. I'm sure you want Bill. Everybody loves Bill. But Bill's not going to save you and take you to Five Guys. No one is.
You're not listening to
I
me.
am listening to you. I know you want to go. You're just hungry because your blood sugar's too low. It makes you have headaches and it makes you not feel well. And I get that, okay? But you need to calm down. And you need to tell me, do you want to eat the sausage that you pulled out? Yes or no? Do you want the sausage? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to calm down for me?
Yes.
Okay. And what else do you have to say?
Cup.
Yeah, I know you want a cup.
Cup.
You need to say,
Sorry.
okay, and give me kisses. All right? All right, go wait for your sausage, okay? I have your sausage out already. Or did you want pepperoni? You need a drink. All right.
Okay, so that's a pretty powerful, pretty heavy duty video there. Somebody asked if, Carrie, did you have your hand up for a reason? You have to unmute.
I had to learn where everything was on the communication device to talk faster and better when I got my first communication device.
Yeah, of course. Good point. Thank you. Yeah, it's a process, isn't it? Yeah, lots of work. Thank you, Carrie.
And speaking of work, that was a great video, Laura, and it, I think, really gives us an example of how important knowing our students are. She knew all of that stemmed from he needed to get some food in him and everything was going to be a little bit better. So knowing and understanding our speakers is important. It's important, and that kind of relates to this next slide because we're the next slide shows a picture of a form, and it's called Personal Communication Dictionary. I like this for teams use. And when I say team, I don't mean just everybody that works at the school or at the day program. It's the family and everyone that's involved in that person's life. But this form can be personalized for the user, and it will help the team members to better understand how they communicate. What do they have a verbal yes or no? So we can, this first column here, we list what are the things that we see. It could be their behaviors. It could be something they do with their device. It could be a sound that they make. How is that interpreted? Do we understand what that means? And when we hear this particular sound or see this particular behavior, then what do we do about it? These are important things for the communication partners to know, and they can help reduce the amount of frustration on the part of the AAC speaker as well. Do they turn away and do they tune you out when they don't want to talk? That's a good example that I'm sure I've seen and experienced in my household, and he's not an AAC speaker, but I've experienced and seen it, but I understand what that behavior means. So this is a blank form, and we have the link here listed to it. On the next slide, we're going to see it filled out. And I like for teams to use this because it's also good for transitioning. Laura mentioned before, this age population, sometimes they're moving on. They're leaving the school program. They're going to a work program. So having this form, we can go to the next slide.
I just wanted to say, sorry, we don't have a link. I just wanted to say we don't have a link to this because it comes up in their Google Docs and I can't share someone else's, but I did put a link to a similar type of a thing that's free from Teachers Pay Teachers on here.
Thank you for making that clear. We have so many resources, it's hard to keep them all straight. But what's nice about that is you get to see that there's different ways to do this. There's not just one way to do it, different ways to do it. This particular form now is completed out with a student that I know. So for example, what do? Sometimes she just puts her hands in her laps and closes them. When she does that, it means for her, it's a yes response, that she's in agreement. Quite often it's hard for her. Her arms are moving around. So when we see that, we know she's in agreement and we state what we see. So you might say something like, you're showing me a calm body. I know you're ready to listen. Or your body says that's yes, you agree. That's a yes response. So that, again, we're confirming, we're demonstrating confidence, that allowing them to know that, yes, we see you as a competent communicator, even if you're doing it with your body. You're giving us a message and we recognize what it is. Pulling her hair. This might mean that I'm just frustrated, or maybe I'm doing it because you misunderstood my message. So what should I do? I can offer help. I can say, okay, maybe that's not what you meant. That maybe I misunderstood you. Let's try again. Hits or swipes towards you. For this particular student, when she swiped at you, she was not angry, but it meant that you were too close. If you're looking from far back at an interaction, you know, you might say, wow, that student's really angry, or that student's out of control. But if you read the dictionary on this student, you recognize, okay, she just doesn't like people to be close to her. Remember, we mentioned earlier that some communication partners want you to come in close. Well, having this dictionary, now not everybody likes that. So I need to apologize for being too close, and I need to take a step back. And for this particular student, when I do those things, then communication continues on very fluidly. So it's a good tool. It's a good tool to help you. And especially if your student or your child is going to be working with someone different the next year or in a different setting, doing something like this can help them to understand them better and establish a good relationship or a good foundation for communication in a new setting. Implementation strategies, communicative temptations. A lot of times people want to apply these to the younger individuals only, but these are tried and true with teenagers and adults. A time delay, preferred items, but access is, preferred items or activities are present, but access is delayed until he or she makes a request. It's nothing like being able to see something you're interested in, but not get to it, right? It's that dangling fish hook there, that worm. Missing an item for an activity. This can apply to anything. If you're at home and you provide a bowl of cereal without a spoon, right? Or you're in the classroom and we have a video, but we don't have any sound. A blocked response, momentarily blocking a response or interrupting an ongoing activity. I say this with caution. This is one that you use with caution. But again, if you have established relationship, you'll know the temperament of your AAC speaker, whether or not they can tolerate an interruption in a particular activity. Verbal prompt or free strategy. This is when a symbol is placed near the student with no accompanying prompt or explanation, but gives them an opportunity to initiate. And then the items provided. Incomplete presentation, it's similar to missing item. Delayed assistance, that means that you give them the opportunity to make that request. And wrong item format, it's giving the wrong reference or the activity. This is where your AAC speaker gets to work on their strategic competence. So if I give you a fork and you have soup, wait a minute. You need to be able to communicate me that's wrong, not wanted, or need help, won't work. Whatever strategies that you're working on having them develop. And if they don't have them yet, then you have verbal, visual and verbal representation of what should be said for that particular scenario. Just some suggestions of strategies that have proven successful.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that these are just suggestions, and of course, not everything is for everyone, but these are just ideas. Okay, Bernadette.
This slide has taken the information comes from the AAC Language Lab, which is a fantastic online resource that you can access at the website listed here on the slide. There are lots of lessons and activities. And what's nice about this particular slide is that they are arranged based on the language category. So when you first open up the website, you can pick the language stage, verse all the way from 1 to 5. So Language stage 1 might be someone that's using single words for communication versus someone that might be at stage 5, they're building short sentences. Thank you, Laura, for taking us there. One thing to know that they do have a lot of free activities, but if you choose to sign up for a subscription, then you just get access to more resources as well. It's very user-friendly, and it allows you, again, to identify what area of language you want to work on, and then it'll give you activities. So here are your stages across the top. You select the stage, and then you can select a particular lesson. So you see, right, example, stage 4. If you don't remember, you can go back and it'll tell you what language characters represent stage 4, but then you can immediately open up a little book, or you can have an activity that you can use therapeutically that will target stage 4 language growth targets. I like this one in particular because I can also choose my graphics so that they have graphics for young adults, and then they also have graphics for youth. So it's nice that we have young adults looking at pictures of other young adults and not just characters. Some people say cartoonish characters. There's other more professional words for them, but something that's age appropriate. A good resource. This screen shows some examples of core words and activities-based things that you can use for modeling. So this one here, for example, mealtime, if you're at a 1-word level, here's some 1 words that would be appropriate for you to model during mealtime. But if you're at the 3-word level, here's some phrases that you can use during mealtime at the 3-word level. I love sharing this. I think it's great to share with families because sometimes we're just like, sure, well, I don't know what to say. We had spaghetti and he had the word spaghetti on his device, or we didn't have the word spaghetti. It's mealtime. We don't have to say spaghetti. We can say yummy, we can say good, we can say more, we can say like it, we can say want it. So this particular guide will give us access to those core words, and most systems nowadays, if you have a balanced system, is going to give you access to core words. So you don't feel like you're just stuck with not being able to interact or communicate with a particular activity. My time's up on the slide. I know it. Go ahead. Modeling AAC at home. Again, we have 2 nice resources on this slide for you to see. Modeling AAC at home. If you look at this graphic closely, you'll see little plus signs there. And what's nice, when you click on a plus sign, you're going to get a pop-up that shows you some of the words that you can use and the topics that you can categorize. I know I'm all clicking on it as if I could do it. Thank you for showing us, Laura.
That's
so she clicked on an icon within the bathroom. And now we have things that we can do, reasons for communicating, not only the reasons. So the reasons are commenting, asking questions, making requests, but then they also give you the specific language that you can use for that activity. So we have examples of comments. You're dirty, fun, sweet, you silly, not smelly. Hopefully not smelly, right? After a bath. And then words and phrases for questions. So it gives you a nice balance for modeling that language that would be appropriate for the setting. And keep in mind, a lot of this, again, is common core vocabulary. These are things that we should have access to on our device without a lot of extra customization.
Okay, I just wanted to point out that these things that are popping up come from a site called the AAC Coach. And if you go to her website and subscribe, you get all of these great, here's a larger one so you can see it larger. You get all of these great modeling pages for just about every subject you can think of, great tips, great resources. So I put her website here, the AAC Coach. You sign up, it's free, and you just get all these resources that you can download.
Which is exciting. So for the professionals in the group, if you want to give some homework for your families for the summer, there's a great source for you.
That was my slide, by the way, but okay, you're on.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're on.
Do you want to go for this slide? It's a video.
Oh, go ahead.
we're gonna watch this wonderful example of it's a therapeutic setting, and she has brought in some items to elicit language. So let's just watch the video. Yeah, let's just watch it.
Gail Van Tatenhove.
Yes, she is.
No, you don't know what I brought.
What did you bring?
So together we asked,
What did you bring?
you know what? That could take a while, and I respect that you're trying to do that. But we know that sometimes it is okay to ask somebody to help you.
Help me. Help me. Look.
Maybe you could ask me to open it, or maybe you just want to know what's in there, or maybe you want me to open it so you can look. What do you think?
Look.
All right, you want to look.
More.
More. So let's take out some more. This is what we need for what we're going to make today. Maybe we could do something with this food thing. Maybe it's going to be something that we do with a drink thing.
Drink.
That's a very definite possibility, because I see some wet things that we could drink. But you know, there are also things here that we might eat. Very odd kind of sandwich, a tuna feta cheese sandwich. Who knows? Well, what's in this bag will answer that question. This bag holds the answer. But you have no clue what's in there. How are you going to find out? That's right. When we don't know information, we always have to ask those questions.
What is in there? What is in there?
Well,
okay, man. Okay. Almost each of those strategies that we just went through, Gail used those strategies. She used a time delay. She used almost each of those strategies in this video. Did you? So, self-empowerment through AAC. We're going to actually watch another video.
Why is AAC so important? Well, for one thing, not having a voice in all the many decisions that shape your life means that you haven't a life at all. Not being able to share your goals and dreams means you haven't got a chance of reaching them. Spelling out loud what fills your mind gives you wings. It gives you hope and fulfillment and a purpose. It gives you a reason to wake up each morning and face a day. It seems most people think that because we can't speak, because our bodies betray us and fail to reflect the mind inside, that we are not intelligent. They think we are incapable of thoughts and dreams. They are uncomfortable around us and would like us tucked away somewhere. That has been going on far too long. We have the right to communicate in whatever means suits us best. We must be given the opportunity to live a life of our own choosing. Let us have a proper education. Let us seek higher learning. Let us develop our talents. And let us be equal and respected members of our communities. We must have a precise means of communication in order to achieve this. Please listen. Please give us our voice.
AAC etiquette. Again, food for thought. Don't take their devices. Be careful about touching their devices without their permission. It's very tempting sometimes, and I've unfortunately heard a lot of stories about why people thought it was okay to take a device away, but just keep in mind that it's a voice, and I'm not going to put tape over a student that's talking too much or that's repeating the same thing over and over again all day. And so therefore, I likewise will not take a device away from a student intentionally. Respect screen privacy. As our AAC speakers become older, it's important to recognize that everything that they say is not something that maybe they want shared with everyone. Talk to the person, not to the device. Common one that we have to say over and over and over again. Even if you don't understand, you don't want to assume and look over at the device, but you want to what? Be honest with them and say, I don't understand. Could you say it again? I'm not going to stare at your device. I'm going to stare at you until we get it figured out.
Yeah, and look at them, not their device. It's, you know, they're talking to you.
Don't assume they only want to talk about one favorite topic. I think this is so important. Sometimes some of our AAC speakers get stuck in a motor pattern, and we might assume, oh, they always hit that button, or they're always just saying that. Sometimes it's a motor issue and it's not a preferred topic. So just be open-minded and don't be hesitant to introduce new topics. Demonstrate that AAC is a normal and acceptable way to communicate. We've talked about this. Modeling is key. Don't respond until the message is complete. So important. Even if you think you know what they're going to say, just like you wouldn't interrupt anyone else, right? A lot of these are very common sense things that we would do with typical speaking peers. Don't pile too many questions or comments on at once. One thing we know for sure is that sequencing takes time. And when there's a longer process that you must go through when you're communicating with a communication device. So having to hear a question, remember the question, look at your system, look for the icons or the message that you want to find, remembering how to get there, then maybe making your body do what it might not normally do to get to the button. That's a whole chunk of series. And then if you have compounding comments or questions to respond to on top of that, it really can be overwhelming at times. Respect the communicator's message and acknowledge it, even if you don't fully understand or agree. Amen. That acknowledgement shows mutual respect.
Okay, I'm a little worried about time because I want to have questions. So I think I'm going to just leave this, the link here to this video, or do you think we have time? What time is it? 11:35.
If we don't talk about it, we can.
Yeah. So the Communication Bill of Rights is, this video is a great video to talk about what AAC users have the right to do. And I do have it printed over here for you. And I do have a link to the video. And for those of you that are teachers or use videos in classrooms, Liz and I learned a trick that I want to pass on to you really quick before I forget. So there's been problems with YouTube videos lately within presentations. They're not popping up. And sometimes you go to play a YouTube video and you get inappropriate ads or things like that. If you just put a dash between the T and the U, your YouTube video will pop up immediately without commercials, and it will pop up full screen.
Ta-da!
That's your tech tip of the day. Oh. Okay, so this is our friend Kim here. And this is a video she made a while back, but I just want to show you just a little quick snippet of it. I probably won't do the whole thing, but just to show you what goes into typing to communicate, but also why she likes her device.
Hello, my name is Kim Vu-Long. Why? I like my device is.
Okay, I'm going to forward just in the interest of time through the magic of television.
O N I S S issue issues. Hello, my name is Kim Vu-Ong. I like my device is that I can speak to doctor and my city councilman on issues.
And she is the Disabilities Commissioner for Long Beach. So she does that a lot. Whoops. And before I start, this is our friend Carrie. Hey, Carrie. And I'm going to go ahead and play this video because Carrie told me a story that I wanted her to relay for you guys. And this is the epitome of self-advocacy and also kind of maddening. So here we go.
Hello, my name is Carrie. I'm asked to talk about my experience with my doctor, who needed some education about me and my abilities to stand up and to speak up for myself. All of us need to be brave, especially about our health conditions. I have had some people just don't understand we can hear perfectly, yet they think they need to yell so that we will be able to hear. That's a big joke, because when they first yell to talk to me, I always jump. In March, I was at my doctor appointment. However, my assistant needed to leave early for another appointment. That would be no problem with me. Well, it turned to be a huge problem, because the doctor were not allowing me to drive myself home in my motorized wheelchair. He said he couldn't let me do it by myself because I was unable to do it in front of me. He told the nurse to call my home to tell someone to pick me up, and I told them I lived by myself. So, I let them to call my home phone. Guess what? No one was there, and I also let them call my cell phone number, which meant they were calling me when I was right in front of them. If they wanted to play dumb, I did let them be embarrassed and puzzled. I did need to sign a form to be able to go home, except he had one of his aides to walk me home, which was 3 miles away. But he insisted that she would follow me. However, I wouldn't go so slow for her. I think she gave up and got in her car to make sure I would get home safely. So, it is so important for all of us to know better than to talk down about someone who could understand and is able to tell someone that they were talked down. Before my next visit with the doctor, last month, I did write the doctor a long letter about what I am capable to do, and he was so glad and grateful that he was able to understand my abilities better. Now, I am staying with this doctor. I think writing letters to the doctors really helps me all the way around. Having a good communication with our doctors is so important because we know our bodies better than anyone else. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for sharing that. I remember her telling us the story, and every time she said, "Guess what?" I would just start cracking up. But you did what you had to do, and that was a great letter, by the way, that she wrote to the doctor that explained everything. She was very diplomatic but firm, and I really appreciate this. Appreciate you telling your story again, Carrie, because it happens all too often, and I'm so glad you spoke up.
Absolutely. So dealing with doctors, dealing with funding, getting a device. AAC assessments is very important. And we know that schools, while a person is in school, we know we have legal rules in place to help provide systems. When a person transitions out of the school system, then we look for additional funding sources, insurance, Medicaid. All of these companies have policies in place for device procurement, and DME is a terminology you want to be aware of. Durable medical equipment. That means that if my insurance can pay for a cane, they can pay for a communication device. In a nutshell, we've listed a couple of other resources that can be of assistance as well. The Voice Options program is currently still functioning and providing AAC devices, specifically iPads with apps on them, communication apps. And then there's other resources as well, such as the Regional Center, private pay. My biggest takeaway when it comes to funding is that I want to encourage families and providers to be persistent, to know that it's not always an easy route, and it can be very lengthy at times, but it is worth it. I've worked with families that have been denied from their insurance, but appealed, and you can even appeal an appeal and still get funding and get the communication device that you need and deserve.
Sorry, I was answering a chat. Thank you, Bernadette. Yeah, I think persistence is key when trying to fund devices, especially outside of the school system. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just walk you through really quick so you know they're there. They'll be in your handouts. I, again, am a resource person, and we collected resources that we thought would be helpful for you. So here are some resources that we have found helpful and useful. Bernadette talked about the AAC Language Lab. I personally use Lesson Picks, which is an online service that you can put, it's $39 for the year, and you can put together all different things made with symbols, bunch of different great videos, courses, lessons, just great. Again, here's the AAC coach. Somebody asked about the website. Next, we gathered some free AAC supports to help you out. So all of the places listed have free boards and other things that you can print out for free. One thing I noticed recently was that Lingraphica, which is a great company, they have a new set of communication boards dealing with mental health, which I think is a really, really important topic for everyone right now. Relevant articles. So we're all big readers, and I do reference a lot of different sources and articles, but these are different ones that I thought, thank you, Liz, for helping me find a bunch, and Bernadette, that talk about that transition to adulthood for students, the introducing AAC apps, secondary school, and teens and adults. So lots of good resources there. And Liz, do you want to take it from here?
And that is it for today. We're going to ask you if you can please fill out our survey. You can scan the QR code or click on the link I'm going to send you in the chat.
While Liz is typing that, I want to let you know, after we stop the recording in a minute, we're going to stay around and answer questions if you want to stay on. Go ahead, Liz, sorry.
Next slide, please. Here's our contact information. Any questions or concerns you have regarding assistive technology, you can contact Laura and myself. Bernadette is our speech language pathologist with Trinity Consulting. Also, if you're interested in the free 1-hour AAC consultation, feel free to send me an email, or if you would like to schedule a lab appointment. I also want to mention AAC in the Cloud. Today conference is coming up June 28th, 29th. It's a free online conference on AAC.
It's a great conference. It's put on by Cough Drop, and there are so many sessions going on at once. But the cool thing is you can go, whatever session you attend, you can go back and view all the other sessions because they're all recorded. So you don't miss out. Sometimes it's really hard to choose.
I think they're one of the most altruistic companies in that they just give, you know, a lot of, they just really want people to have the information.
And our next and fourth last webinar in the series is the Let's Talk AAC Ask the Experts webinar. It's scheduled for Friday, July 22nd at 10 a.m.
And that's a great, it's going to be a great webinar because